This video will show you how to replace the engine oil pan on a Chrysler Town Country. This will be located under the front of your vehicle. Let's get into it. The first thing we want to make sure is you have a brand new engine oil filter. You're going to be replacing it, and 5 quarts of brand new 520 motor oil. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Up along the top of the engine, we can see our valve cover and we can see our engine oil cap. Along the top of it, it tells us exactly what type of oil to use, 5W20. Go ahead and turn that counterclockwise. We can remove that and temporarily set it aside. At this point, let's make our way safely under the front of the vehicle. So as we make our way under the front of the vehicle, we can see our engine oil pan. We're looking for our drain plug. We'll use a 17mm to start turning this counterclockwise to remove it. Of course, I do have hand and eye protection and a collection receptacle because I'm going to be recycling all that fluid properly. A quick note about removing this drain plug. You want to try to remove it slowly. If you pull it out fast, the fluid will come out at an angle and potentially miss the bucket. Just be aware of that. So I'm using a 17mm ratchet wrench for this. Just a quick inspection of that drain plug and gasket. We'll set it aside. Let's go ahead and let this fully drain into our collection receptacle. Let's go ahead and install our drain plug. Now at this point, before I go any further, since I do have an oily mess making my way all the way around this area, I'm going to make sure I clean the area, especially above the engine oil pan, so nothing makes its way down and inside during the removal process. Of course, I have a collection receptacle, hand and eye protection. Let's go ahead and clean this mess. I'll be using some parts cleaner. Obviously, you want to make your way all the way around the entire engine. At this point, let's make our way towards the driver's side of the engine oil pan. Now this is where we can see a metal bracket. This metal bracket is attached to the transmission and it's covering the lip of the oil pan, so we have to remove it. I'll be using a 15mm for my 7 mounting bolts. You can see one over in this corner. We can make our way all the way across, and in the far corner on the front, you have another one over here as well. I'm saving the center mounting bolt for last. Now all these bolts will be the same. You do not need to worry about mixing them up. For the last mounting bolt, we'll make sure we're holding onto this so it does not fall down and potentially hurt us. Now that we have this dropped down far enough, we can continue on with the removal of the engine oil pan. At this point, with that bracket out of the way, we have clear view of all of our mounting bolts. Now there's going to be 16 of these 10mm headed mounting bolts making their way all the way around the oil pan. For the first mounting bolt, I'm going to fully remove it. A quick inspection will start it back in a couple threads. Now that I have all the bolts out, I'm going to carefully use a rubber mallet. I'll give this a couple taps. There's typically a gasket maker holding it in place. There we go. Let's remove our final bolt that we already removed. Start it back in a couple threads. Now as we pull this down, just keep in mind there could still be oil in this area. There it is, friend. Once you take the oil pan down, you want to make sure you drain it out prior to recycling. But let's go ahead and focus on the engine itself. We're looking at the mating point where the brand new engine oil pan will sit up against with its sealant. We need to make sure we clean any miscellaneous debris and oily residue. For this, I'm using a flat blade razor. I'm going to carefully scrape all the way around the entire engine along the mating surface, and of course I'll wipe it clean. For that, I'm going to use a clean rag with some parts cleaner directly on it. I'm not going to spray any parts cleaner inside the engine. A thorough inspection in this area will continue on with our engine oil pan. For that, let's make our way to the bench. Now we have to have some gasket maker. We're going to make a bead all the way around the entire oil pan, directly in the areas that will make its way up against the engine. This is the sealant. We do not want an engine oil leak. Just a quick bead all the way around here. Let's just double check to make sure we do have a bead all the way around. You can spread it as necessary using a gloved finger. This looks good. Let's get it over to the vehicle. So before we get the oil pan in place, just one more time around here, just in case we have any other oil drips. Get that oil pan in place. Now as we bring it up, we need to align our mounting points for each one of our mounting bolts. We're going to start in all 16 of our mounting bolts before tightening any of them. Get one in this corner, one on the other corner. Just go ahead and lightly bottom these out. We are not tightening these only because we may have to shift the pan as necessary. Now we can start in all others. They're all started in. Now let's bottom them out. They're all bottomed out. I have my torque wrench. Let's torque these to 105 inch-pounds. Okay, at this point, we've torqued all 16 of our bolts going all the way around. Let's make sure that we also torque our oil drain plug. The torque for the engine oil drain plug is 20 foot-pounds. Just make sure we clean up any mess in this area, and we'll continue on to our bracket. Now, as for our metal bracket, we're going to start in all 7 of our mounting bolts. When we go to tighten these, we have to make sure that we tighten the bolts that go in sideways first. After that, you can tighten the 3 bolts that face straight up and down. The torque for all of these will be 55 foot-pounds. You can start them in any way you'd like. One up in the corner here, just like the other one. Okay, they're all started in. Let's bottom them out and torque them. Now we can go ahead and torque those. I've got my torque wrench, 55 foot-pounds. Double check to make sure that's secured. We'll clean any mess in this area. Now that we have everything torqued, we're making our way to here. We're going to start removing our engine oil filter. Now typically you could take hold of it and spin it by hand counterclockwise. If you find you have a hard time turning it, you can also use an oil filter wrench. Of course, we have our collection receptacle under this area. There is oil in here. Now, of course, the engine oil filter is covered in oil. Let's make sure it does not slip out of our hands. We want to make sure we collect and recycle all fluid properly. Go ahead and empty that into your collection receptacle. Now we're focusing on the mounting point here. As far as this is concerned, we're wiping it down using a clean rag. We don't need to use any types of detergent. When wiping this, we're paying attention for pre-existing gasket from the original oil filter or any miscellaneous debris. A couple oil drips really isn't a big deal. Now let's have a quick look at our brand new engine oil filter. We're using some clean motor oil and lubricating the sealing ring. Let's get this in place. We'll bottom this out by hand. Continue on with your engine oil filter wrench. Let's continue on another 1/16 of a turn. Not very much, we just want to make sure it's secure. Just make sure that that's nice and tight, it does not loosen. We'll clean any mess in this area. One last quick inspection, and we can make our way back up inside the engine compartment. As far as this sealant is concerned, we want to make sure it dries before installing motor oil. Up inside the engine compartment, we'll use a funnel. We can add our 5 quarts of 520 oil directly into this port. And let's reinstall our engine oil cap. Make sure that's nice and tight. We'll clean any mess in this area. Now the next thing we have to do is hop inside the passenger compartment. You're going to start the vehicle, let it run for at least 10 seconds. After that, we'll go ahead and turn off the engine, make our way back out here to the engine oil dipstick. Now I finished running the vehicle. I'm on a flat level surface. We can check the engine oil level. We're removing our engine oil dipstick. Now once you have it out of the engine, just go ahead and wipe it off. We're going to take a quick look at the very end. Now looking at this, approximately where my thumb is, we can see that there's a small hatched area. That's exactly where our engine oil level needs to be. So what we're going to do is reinstall the engine oil dipstick. We'll remove it and then inspect to make sure we are at that level. If we're a little low, you need to add some. If for some reason you're above the hatched line, you need to drain some out. 5 quarts should be just enough. As you can tell, my level is perfect. Let's go ahead and wipe this off one last time and reinstall it. Make sure that's secured all the way down. Okay, friend, we finished our job. Now at this point, some trim models will have a reset procedure for the engine oil life monitor. You'd want to complete that process. Other vehicles may not. Aside from that, make sure you clean any mess, double check for leaks, close the hood, take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.